Okay, so in order to master proportions, you need to be able to cut things in half. So we should be able to draw any size line. And figure out where the middle is on each of these lines. So the first step is to always make a tick mark on either end and then estimate where you think halfway is. Now right here, I'm measuring the distance from here to here with my pencil. Boom. Slide it over to this point here. Boom. As long as it's the same on both sides, you know it's in the middle. Take a look at this line here. Now, say I end up over here. I mean, first of all, just really stare at it. You'll be able to see, oh, you know, that's not the middle. But if for whatever reason that's not making sense to you, measure, look at that. I end up on the left side beyond this tick mark here. That means I need to move this back. Now the whole thing with the pencil measure is you need to hold it flat. You cannot pencil measure by just holding the pencil the way we normally hold it. You know, placing it on top of the line but not really worrying about where I'm holding it with my thumb and index. It's all about where the thumb and the index are. So here, I have the end of my pencil perfectly lined up with that center line, and my thumb and index are perfectly in line with this line here. That's the only way you're going to be able to use this technique. Lined up here, lined up here. And then once you have that, the second step is to just slide it over until your thumb and index are lined up with this center line here. And then push the pencil down, tick mark. Now that time I was super close, but still a little bit too far, so see if this will finally give me the result that I want. Yep, there we go. Boom, boom. Okay. Now, once you kind of practice and you get pretty fast at this, then, you know, we can kind of just take a look at a whole line here. Scan, scan, scan. I feel like this right around here is about the middle. And then boom, boom. Nope, too far. A little bit over. Boom. Boom. There we go. There's the middle. So you need to be able to find the halfway point of any line, any size, no matter what. Now, how do we apply it to this over here? Let's go over a couple common mistakes. First common mistake, people will just draw any regular box over here. No. These lines that we are drawing down, they need to just barely touch some part of the drawing. So here on the far right side, barely touching this shoulder line, all the way in the bottom, barely touching these lines on the neck, all the way on the far left, right next to the ear, barely touching that shoulder line there, and then at the tippy top here, barely touching this moment. So you gotta make sure these lines are touching some part of the reference. Similar over here, when people go to freehand the rectangle, you know, early on, you're not very good at estimating and guesstimating. So people are like, oh, box over there, box over here. However, these boxes need to be the same shape. So we don't want something that is too square or too skinny. These are the questions we're always asking ourselves. Does this rectangle look like this rectangle? Now, I've drawn it wrong on purpose because I'm going to show you how to correct it. We want it to try and match this, except be slightly larger. So there's a few things going on over here I'm going to have to change. But all I'm going to do is capture the measurement of the bottom here. I'm capturing the width. You know, here's the width. And then this is H for height. I guess another thing I'm doing while I'm pencil measuring, I do use my pinky and kind of curl it around the bottom of the pencil here. And that kind of helps me pick it up and move it around a bit faster. So there I am, capturing the width here. Turn it up. Make a tick mark. And I can see it's, you know, if this is about halfway, then this tick mark is just a little bit above halfway. Now, why is that important? Look over here. Let's see what kind of box we have going on. Look at that. Capture the width. Compare that to the height. And it's up above this square. Okay, over here it's only a little above halfway, but this box I've drawn, it ends up like way over here. So that tells me right away, wow, this shape is way wrong. So I think it's pretty obvious. It's way too square. So I need to make a taller, skinnier rectangle that is slightly larger. So, I mean, here's my width here. Yeah, we're already starting with something that is slightly larger. Now, I'm just gonna have to make this about twice as tall, I think. Now, it's not like it's gonna be twice as tall every single time. It's different each time depending on the reference and the shape of the reference and stuff. Measure the height. All right, just a little bit taller than the height there. Measure the width. All right, just a bit wider over there. And then let's see if we can get this tick mark to end up just a little bit beyond the halfway point. Width, turn it vertical. And that's right around where we want our tick mark. So this is how we avoid rulers. And we're able to get something proportionate pretty quickly. So I guess right now I could kind of show you guys the speed run version of this. So here I am, been handed a reference. And let's just speed run it real quick. Yes, I am familiar with this reference because I'm a teacher, but this is what I do in order to break down any type of reference as soon as I'm handed it. It's so important trying to figure out where halfway is. Halfway vertical and halfway horizontal. I think it's a little trickier to do the second line here, the horizontal line, because there's all these other lines inside the cartoon face that kind of distort stuff. So I want a freehand rectangle over here. Let's go for something that's like a lot bigger. Now this is the thing about practicing this way of drawing is when we practice it, you will actually start to get pretty accurate with guessing and estimating. Because if you mess up enough times, it does start leading you to the right spot. So width to height, just a little bit up above halfway there. Taking a look at this rectangle here, you know, that looks to be about halfway. I'm constantly just looking back and forth, looking back and forth. There's the width. Turn up compared to the height, just a little bit above halfway. So I'd say this rectangle is nice and proportionate. Where's halfway on this line? Boom. Boom. Copy, paste. And you can do these things in slightly different orders. You got to kind of do it what works for you, basically. And that's going to be about halfway vertical. Now from here, I'm going to start breaking down this shape even further. And I really like to put down a couple different tick marks to kind of map out the shape I'm going for. So, you know, how did I figure out where these tick marks are? This one over here is right around where this ear is. This one over here, right around where this ear is. Top of the hat, bottom of the jaw. So. Now this is a major part of the hat. And just kind of eyeballing stuff, it does appear to line up perfectly halfway through this top section here. The hat's a pretty simple shape. Pretty simple shape. It's kind of like this boxy rectangle with slightly curved at the top here. And all this proportion stuff, man, is definitely tricky. Because it's a lot of things that sort of appear easy, appear like, I don't know, like this is such a generic cartoon face. You know, no, if you asked anyone on the street, they wouldn't be like, yeah, this is so difficult to draw. But when you try and get all the proportions completely accurate, it's impossible to do that without measuring of some kind. And anytime we want to change this scale here, we're not going to be able to really use a ruler to help us do that. Rulers are okay if you're like using, like if we wanted to make this the same exact size, we could measure all these individual things, make it the same exact size. But then ruler ends up getting like super confusing if you want to change the size of the object. So that's the basic idea of what's going on with the hat here. And then jaw shape, hat, and I'm really taking a look at where this halfway line is splitting these sunglass lenses, And once again, I'm going to kind of outline the sunglass lenses with some tick marks here. Little piece connecting the two. Eyebrow, eyebrow. I'm just going to leave it like that for now, move on. All the time people try and get each tiny little section totally perfect before moving on. It's a very inefficient way of drawing. Get it basically right, make sure the proportions are good, and then just move on. So here I'm looking at the ear, look at that. This halfway line pretty much perfectly cuts the ear right in half. So I'm making sure that's what's going down over here. And similar thing on this side. At this point, we're pretty much done. I know I'm still obviously missing like tons of stuff here, but from here, we got the major things down that we need. Then after this, it's just kind of about adding details to finish stuff off. But everything else is going to be pretty proportionate. Very bottom of the lip there is halfway through this line. If we're just taking a close look at the whole bottom section here, find halfway. And don't be afraid to readjust. If while you're adding details, things start looking wonky, trust your instincts. You may have made a mistake earlier, like it may have been basically right, but not perfectly right, and then just make some small little adjustments. Now that's basically the cartoon face. I mean, I could go through, revisit each thing, and add specific details and clean it up even more. But it becomes fun at that stage because I know for sure this face is proportionate, and I'm not, each time I go for these different lines, I'm no longer guessing. I know for sure the proportions are good. So when I do go to add tiny details, I already know it's in the right spot. So anyway, hopefully that clears things up for you if you've been confused at all about this approach. If you take a really, really close look at my drawing, it's still not quite perfectly proportionate, but it's basically where it needs to be at, and that's all that matters. I'd probably spend the next 5-10 minutes revisiting each of my measurements and kind of cleaning up the proportions even more. But that is about it for this breakdown here.